All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we are diving into Matthew chapter 7, and this is the grand finale of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. It is absolutely packed with some of his most famous and, most challenging teachings about how to build a life that actually lasts. Jesus wraps up this whole incredible sermon with this really powerful story about two builders. And it forces every single one of us to ask this question. Are you building your life on rock or are you building it on sand? This isn't just some nice little story, right? It's a direct challenge to the very foundation of our lives. So let's get into it and figure out what it really means to build on solid ground. So, what's the difference between a life that stands firm and one that just collapses? Well, it all boils down to one thing. Are you just a hearer of these teachings or are you a doer? See, Jesus makes it super clear that listening to what he says is, well, it's just the start. The real test, the thing that changes everything, is actually putting it all into practice. Honestly, this idea is the key that unlocks this entire chapter. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to use that hearer versus doer idea as our guide. We'll look at how we relate to other people, we'll talk about the power of prayer, dig into some critical life choices, and then wrap it all up with what it means to build your life's foundation. It's going to be great to see how being a doer really changes everything. All right, first up, relating to others wisely. How does a doer actually interact with people? In the last chapter, Jesus was really focused on our inner life, praying, fasting, giving. But now he totally shifts gears to how we deal with the world around us. And he kicks it off with a command that is, well, it's super famous, but also really, really misunderstood. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. You've probably heard this one a million times, right? People love to use it to shut down any kind of moral conversation. But what Jesus is saying here isn't, hey, turn off your brain and never think critically. No, it's a warning against a very, very specific kind of judgment. And this is so cool because the original Greek language gives us a huge clue. See, the word Jesus uses for judge here is krino. Think of it like a judge in a courtroom slamming down the gavel. It's about condemning someone. That's the forbidden stuff, that harsh, hypocritical, holier-than-thou attitude. But the Bible actually requires us to use anakrino, which is more about discerning and examining things carefully. It's the difference between playing God and, say, being a smart shopper who checks the fruit before buying it. You need that for wise living. And then he gives us this amazing visual, the plank and the speck, which is basically a 3-step guide. Step 1, look in the mirror. Examine yourself first. Deal with that giant 2x4 sticking out of your own eye before you worry about anything else. Step 2, now you can actually see clearly. Once that plank is gone, your vision is restored. And only then, step 3, you can gently, and I mean gently, help your brother with the tiny little speck in their eye. It starts with humility, not with pointing fingers. So let's talk about the power of prayer, because let's be real for a second. Living like that, being humble, self-aware, gentle, it's impossible to do on our own. No way. And I think that's exactly why Jesus so brilliantly pivots right from talking about judgment to talking about prayer. He knows we can't do this alone. He knows we need divine help. And then he says this, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. Wow. This has to be one of the most hopeful, encouraging verses in the entire Bible. After setting this incredibly high bar for us, Jesus basically throws open the door and says, here's the power you need to actually do it. He's inviting us, begging us, to ask for the strength we just don't have on our own. Now, this is a promise, but it's not like a blank check or some magic spell. There are a few things to keep in mind. First, the language here implies we should be persistent. It's like, keep on asking, keep on seeking, keep on knocking. Don't give up. Second, this whole promise is based on the character of God himself, who is a good father. A good dad isn't going to give his kid a rock if they ask for a cookie. He gives good gifts, not always what we want, but what we truly need. Things like wisdom and discernment and the strength to actually live this stuff out. Okay, let's move on to life's most important choice, because this is how a doer navigates the world. So now that we know we have to act and we know we can pray for help, Jesus lays out a series of really sharp contrasts. He's basically forcing us to make a choice. There's no coasting, there's no middle ground here. He paints this picture of two paths, two destinies. You've got the wide gate and the broad road. That's the easy one. It's popular, it's crowded, it's the path of least resistance. But Jesus gives a chilling warning. It leads to destruction. Then there's the narrow gate. It's the difficult way. It's harder to find, and not many people are on it, but that's the one that leads to life. Being a doer means you have to consciously choose to go against the flow. And of course, along that difficult path, there are going to be distractions. Jesus warns us, watch out for false prophets. They'll look harmless, like sheep, but their goal is to trick you and lead you right back to that easy, wide road. So how do you spot them? Well, Jesus gives us a foolproof test. He says you will know them by their fruit. It's not about how slick they sound or how charismatic they are. It's all about the results of their life. So what exactly is this bad fruit he's talking about? Well, it's the stuff you can actually see. It's the tangible results of their life and their teaching. You have to ask questions like, do their teachings actually line up with the rest of the Bible? Are they just making stuff up? Are they leading people toward God or just toward themselves? Does their own lifestyle even match what they're saying? See, this is that fruit inspection, that wise discernment we were talking about earlier put into practice. And then comes one of the most chilling, sobering warnings in the entire Bible. Jesus says, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Wow. He makes it shockingly clear that just saying the right words, just having the label Christian, or even doing amazing, miraculous things in his name, that's not enough. That's not the mark of a true follower. But only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. See, there it is again. He brings it all back to action. The real test isn't what you say, it's what you do. Real discipleship isn't about claiming a title or remembering a prayer you said one time. It's shown, it's demonstrated by a life of obedience. It's about being a doer. And all of this, everything we've talked about, leads right into that powerful story that we started with. It's the perfect conclusion, bringing all these ideas of hearing and doing together in a way you'll never forget. This is all about your foundation, the final ultimate choice. So you have these two builders and the coming storm. They both hear the exact same teaching from Jesus. Same words, same sermon. The only difference is what they do with it. The wise builder hears the words and does them. He builds on the rock. The foolish builder, he hears the words, maybe even nods along and thinks, wow, that's good stuff, but he doesn't do them. He builds on sand. And here's the detail you cannot miss. The storm comes for both houses. The rain falls, the floods rise, the wind beats against them. Look, the storms of life, the trials, the hard times, the losses, they are coming for everyone. It's not a sign that you're a bad person or you did something wrong. It's just a fact of life. And those storms will test every single foundation, no exceptions. And the result? It couldn't be more black and white. The house on the rock, it didn't even budge. It stood firm. But the house on the sand, it collapsed. And Jesus says great was its fall. It was completely destroyed. The foundation, that simple choice to obey, made all the difference in the world. So in the end, Matthew chapter 7 isn't just some nice collection of moral advice, is it? No, it's an urgent call to action. It's a call to build our entire lives, brick by brick, on the words of Jesus. It forces every single one of us to ask not just, what do I believe, but the much more important question, what am I doing with what I've heard? Because when the storms come, and they will, the only thing that's going to matter is the foundation you chose to build on.